Coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, 22nd of May, Wednesday, 10:15 in the morning. It's going to be hot today, not as bad as yesterday, 93 high, it's 81 now. Be hot, but it's not that bad for us. We're used to it, so by the time we get to like 7 o'clock, it's 83. Go outside without any trouble. You know, we're used to this. In New York City at 80 degrees, people would be like, it's so hot. Well, you know, part of the problem there was you got concrete, you don't have grass and trees. So there's really no shade. The buildings and the streets heat up, right? Okay. Then you got gazillions of vehicles, trucks, buses, cars, generating heat, and it heats up. So and then all the air conditioners are blowing hot air out into the street. So you have a rather hot environment. You know, I was living in Florida, and I was in a apartment complex, and it was near shopping centers in a main street. It was 120, 150 yards from the main street. And it was hot there. And then I moved about 5 miles away, maybe less, where it was surrounded by a lot of grass and trees and stuff. And it was like 10 degrees cooler. When it hits 90 in New York City, which isn't that often, they call it a heat wave, and they tell people to stay inside and stuff like that. 90s for us is reasonable, okay? So, anyway, let me get into the chat and put my posts up before you all post, so I can get my posts up before you do. If you could wait a couple of minutes, not long, 2-3 minutes. So please, people are posting already. What am I going to do? All right, we got sound and picture. They don't know. It's fine. They did it. No problem. I'll just be quick at the posting. All right, what do we got here? Okay, almost through. Okay, I got the post up. People are coming in. Take them a little time to get in. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so I'm going to drink some of my spiked tomato juice. It's not spiked with alcohol. It has Worcestershire and Tabasco, the regular one, and it has onion, garlic salt, and celery salt. It's getting better. I like this. It's about a fifth or an eighth the price of buying the pre-mixed Bloody Mary mix, which is delicious, but it's too much. And I think they put sugar and garbage in it. This I know what's going in, organic this, and it's not. I do use Tabasco, which I don't believe is organic, and I use Lee and Pear and Worcestershire sauce. I have a salt I bought, and it's lime and I think chili. I didn't put it in. I probably should. To get it right, I think you have to have the celery and the lime and the salt, etc. But I'm getting there. I'm on my way to getting it just right. And that's a good thing. I like my cayenne stuff. It's anti-inflammatory, so they tell us, but I think it really is, Okay. So we did have some big events. A Iranian intelligence chief of a province, like a state, like Florida or Oklahoma, I think they would call it a province, we'd call it a state in America, was assassinated, and a police chief of some sort was also assassinated, and that was on the same day, which I think was yesterday. So we had 8 or 9 high-ranking political figures that went down with the helicopter, including the president of Iran for many decades, and the foreign minister. And now we have an intelligence chief of a province and a police chief assassinated. Now, this does not sound like Israel directly. Okay? It just doesn't sound right. Intelligence chief of a province, nah. I don't think Israel did this. What I think happened is the resistance in Iran. And I saw when the president was dead that night, they lit off fireworks of a grandiose scale, like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, or, well, they don't do fireworks then. Almost like a Disney thing. I mean, big fireworks that were probably several hundred feet in the air. That took guts. And they were celebrating it. So, are these resistance people in Iran working or being helped, trained, supported by foreign powers? Well, the standard answer, which is usually the correct answer, is for them to make it work, to have a serious resistance, yes, they have to be supported by foreign powers. Let's go back to World War II. France was occupied by the Nazis, heavily occupied, right? As the war rolled on, their food got worse and worse. Their ability to get clothing, like new shoes, new coat, was greatly diminished because they were using the production for the military of Nazi Germany. They were getting it from France and using it there. They were taking the food out of France, feeding the Nazi soldiers in France quite well. They, I think, got rid of the money in France. They were using the franc, and I think they put in some special French Reichsmark, or they used the regular German Reichsmark, something like that. So the soldiers, actually the privates and those kind of guys, corporals, sergeants, had a generous amount of money to spend in France. And the Nazi soldiers were trying to be civil to the French. The regular army pretty much was. But the intelligence services, the Gestapo, the SS, they were brutal. Okay? They were rounding up the Jews, and the French people gave them over quite freely. Although quite a few survived, many were turned over and they went to the death camps. Nazi soldiers in France would, on their days off, go to the bistros, the cafes in France, sit outside. They'd wear their uniforms. They'd sit outside and have a coffee, a schnapps, a cognac, a tea, whatever. And they would sit there and try to be friendly to the people. They would generally carry a weapon, a pistol or a rifle. Although I imagine some of them probably didn't want to schlep a rifle. The ones that had been issued a pistol, which I think probably would have been sergeants and higher, maybe only lieutenants, officers and up had a pistol. They had different pistols. They had Walthers, they had Lugers, they had 32 caliber, 380, 9mm. It varied. A lot of these guns, when I first started with guns in the early or mid 70s, no, actually around the early 70s, these guns were prized collector items. They were very valuable. Some people still have them in collections and they sell them and trade them and stuff like that. They also buy and sell and trade Nazi paraphernalia from the military, uniforms. When the Allies would conquer them, they'd hit the storehouses and guys would grab a uniform or a pair of boots or a hat or a flight jacket or something and take it home as a souvenir. So, but anyway, they issued this other currency. So the resistance was mighty in France, very powerful. They were in the habit of knocking Nazi transport trains off the tracks, ruining the load and killing soldiers. It's very difficult to protect a train with the technology back then in 1940-ish. And they would basically put not such a big explosive in the tracks or under the track, and they had a remote detonator. Usually it was a wire, and they'd hide in the bushes of the trees or maybe cover themselves with leaves and dirt, and they'd wait for the train to come over that explosive, and then they would detonate. Now, sometimes they probably had 2 or 3 different explosives just to make sure they did a good job, and the train would go off its track. They usually did it in a spot where the train would be moving at a pretty good clip, which would probably be about 35 to 50 miles an hour. So the train would derail and lots of people would get killed and hurt, and then the guys would run away. As soon as they hit the detonator, they took off. So they'd probably get away because of the confusion from the crash. And they were pretty good at that, and it put a lot of fear in the Nazi soldiers in France riding on a train. And they would destroy a lot of equipment and stuff like that. Now, if they had a train that was just moving cargo and had very few soldiers, after they derailed it, they might shoot it out with the soldiers. There might be 6 or 8 soldiers. There could be 35 of them, and kill the soldiers and loot the train if it was something they wanted, like weapons, money, food, or whatever, right? So the resistance was being supported by America and the UK. The UK would fly flights in routinely, sneak in at night, and they would take partisan fighters from the resistance out if they were too hot. The Nazis were hunting them down and bring them back to the UK. They would take, when they came, they would bring operatives from the UK to help the resistance, and then take others back if they were wounded or they needed training or something like that, the high-ranking ones. And this was rather common, and the Americans were not flying them in and out of America. It was too much of a trip back then, but they were helping too, in many ways. They were giving them money. They would fly boxes of money in there, okay? They would fly boxes of identity cards and various papers in there that the resistance knew how to fill out, because there wasn't a lot of high-tech digital stuff back then. You know, you glued or stapled a photograph on, you know, stuff like that. Radios to communicate with the UK and America and each other. They radios were disguised as record players and other appliances. If they got caught with the radio, they would be dead. And the Nazis would triangulate, trying to find the exact location of the radio, which usually meant back then they would get the city block that it's on, and then, you know, they would storm and search the apartments, and sometimes they found them. Sometimes they had these things disguised very well, and they didn't know what they were. They thought they were a record player or a radio. And sometimes they hid them inside walls, in special compartments, or in the floors, or things like this. Other times they would do a broadcast from an apartment, and as the broadcast would be very fast, like, you know, 3-4 minutes, and then somebody would pick up the radio and run downstairs, get it on a bicycle or something like that, and get it the heck out of there. So when the Nazis came, they knocked on the door, the woman or the man or the couple would go open up the door, and they would search the house and they wouldn't find anything. So they didn't know. They scratched their head. What's the triangulation wrong or something like that? But a resistance needs the support of a foreign power. They need training. They need weapons. They need medical. They need forged documents. They need hacking equipment. They need encryption equipment. They need communication equipment. They need training. Or they fail. To really make it work, they need a leader. Now, America's trying to promote the son of the Shah of Iran as the leader, but he's not in Iran, so he's of little value. And, you know, the Shah's been out of power since like 79, so you're talking, you know, over 50 years. So many of these people don't remember the Shah. Okay? If they're 55 years old, they were an infant when the Shah got it. If they're 65 years old, they were in junior high school. You know, if they're 70, 78, 80, they remember him, but they're not very useful to resistance. They're too old. So yeah, it's highly likely that Israel, America, and probably another 10 countries I could think of are very likely trying to help the resistance overthrow the Iranian government. This is a very, very bad blow to Iran. Why? Because it sends a message to people that hate the Iranian government. And what I'm told is this: in Iran, about 1/3 of the people are pro-Iranian government. These are the Muslims that like Shia law, Sharia law, and they like this, you know, hajibs, and they love all that stuff, right? There's another third of the people that can't stand it, and they want to go back to a European Mediterranean lifestyle. Like, they want to have rock and roll music, they want to have Hollywood and Europe movies, they want to have full cable TV, they want to have discos, bars, you know, all the stuff, right? Women's rights, gay rights, and everything. Okay, so then you have a third of the people that just don't care. They're not political. They're not part of the government. They're not part of extreme Islam. They got jobs and businesses, and they have families, and they just try to enjoy their life, and that's that. So, but a third of the people opposing the Iranian government is a massive risk to Iran. And this would be the solution that Netanyahu and Biden and others, I'm sure the UK, France, Germany, you know, many countries would like to see this happen. Probably the UAE, the Saudis, Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, they would all love to see this happen because Iran is a threat to them. Egypt too. So an overthrow of Iran that goes to the son of the Shah, let's say, hypothetically, I don't know how they'll get him in office, but let's say, would immediately stop any aggressive activities. Hezbollah and Hamas would get nothing from them. The son of the Shah would probably put Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis on their terrorist list. Seriously. So this would be the ultimate solution for Biden, Netanyahu, and so forth, because you don't have a bloodbath that the ICC is going to come after you and the UN's going to come after you. Just sit there and say, what, me worry, you don't pay attention. And they ransack, wreck, and destroy the country themselves and then take it over. But to do this, you need a lot of support from major countries. Money. That frees them from having to work. They could worry about the resistance. Medical. They don't have to go to the Iranian hospitals. They, nurses, doctors start treating the injured resistance people and the sick resistance people themselves out of the hospitals, out of the comprehension and understanding of the Iranian government. Weapons. They need weapons. Now, they're not going to get F-16s and tanks. They need lots of different kind of weapons. They need silenced pistols that are concealable. They need sniper rifles with good optics so they can snipe. They're not going to train them to snipe at a mile, but they probably can train them easy enough to get out to 500 yards, which is very challenging and puzzling to the victims of the sniper because they'll use a silencer. And the silencer is going to dissipate the smoke, and the muzzle flash will be greatly reduced, and they could shoot from a hide hidden somewhere and take out key people. So it makes the Iranian government people afraid to show their face outside. They would need explosive devices so they could blow up, commit sabotage on government facilities, government vehicles, tanks, armored personnel carriers, right? They need communications with the foreign powers supporting them. They normally would have people sneak in from the foreign countries to train them and help them. They need phony IDs, all kinds of things, And, when you're dealing with an oppressive government like Iran, you're not going to be able to collect these things and not come to their attention. So there's definitely foreign powers at work. Who they are, and it's probably a multitude of countries working together with this. This is a golden opportunity to overthrow that government. And the fact that this happened yesterday means, to me, it's going to keep happening. Now the government is in disarray. Many key government officials were killed. It was 8 or 9. And they've basically got a interim government for 50 days. So the new ones that come into the office, they don't know what's going on. It's going to take them at least 50 days, probably 90, to try to figure out what's really going on and how the government is running and what they're supposed to do and not do and stuff like that. So they got a 50-day window till there's an election, and then at the election, they may have a different government yet again, and then you got another 3-month delay. Until they become adept at their job. So you have a large window of time to topple the government. And the key target is the Ayatollah. That's the cat's meow. That's the guy that calls the shots. Okay? The president of Iran is a very powerful guy, but he cannot go against the Ayatollah, who's the supreme leader by title. So they got to dance to his music. Now, he's probably being well hidden. I don't think he's going to see daylight for many months. I don't think he's going to travel any great distance. They might transport him in a tank. When Ceausescu of Romania was being overthrown, I think in the early 90s, he was being moved around with a tank. He built himself a complex, which I believe had his offices in his house, that was made out of solid concrete that was larger than the Pentagon. And it had many escape routes and stuff, but they got him anyway, and then they killed him and his wife. So the Ayatollah is a hard target because, you know, he's probably in a bunker that's going to be relatively hard to bomb. Yeah, if you hit it with a 2,000-pound bomb, it's going to cause trouble. But if he's 300 feet under the ground, you're not going to get him. You'd need much bigger bombs, which America has, but I don't think they're going to do that at all. So, you know, he's going to have at least 500 soldiers surrounding that facility, and you're not going to get in very easily. And, you know, he could probably stay there for 6 months without having to come out. It's very hard to get him. But he doesn't have freedom of movement. He's not a free guy anymore. He's scared to death. Putin was so scared he did not come to the funeral of the Iran president. He sent an underling. Now that was a diplomatic protocol no-no. But he didn't want to take a chance. He said, well, what if Netanyahu wants to get me? What if Biden wants to get me and I'm flying over there to Iran and, you know, what are they going to do to me? They could take me down. Ukraine takes Russian planes down with regularity. So if Ukraine can take Russian planes down, fighter jets included, what do you think America and Israel can do? Sure, they can take them down. So the Putin guy is scared. They're all scared right now. Nasrallah, they're not going out in the light of day. They're not. They're scared. Will Netanyahu go out? Yeah. Israel's defenses are quite strong. If he goes running around. Ben Gvir, our right-wing Knesset member, said, I wouldn't mind moving to Gaza. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. The subject was, should Israel settle Gaza? Well, Netanyahu made a unilateral decision for Israel and said, no, we're not going to settle Gaza. We're not going to move into Gaza. So they don't know what they're going to do. Blinken, the idiot, is trying to structure a peace deal with Saudi Arabia, with Israel. He's convincing the world, and I'm afraid many Israelis, although I don't know how many, that a peace deal as per Abrahamic Accords with Saudi Arabia is a good deal. I think it's worthless. Completely worthless. There would not be a day that the Saudis would help us in a war. You'll never see it. There'll not be a day where the Saudis would sell us oil at a sweetheart price. There'll be a time when they would want to buy lots of weapons from us. That they'll do. That'll make money for the rich people in Israel that own the defense companies, not do a thing for the regular run-of-the-mill Israelis. It's a worthless peace deal. Worthless. It's of no value. And Blinken keeps promoting it. So what they want, they reduced it to Israel making a commitment to set up a Palestinian state. There's no politician in Israel that wants this. Gantz doesn't want it. Netanyahu doesn't want it. So I doubt they're going to sign anything like that. And it involves ending the war, taking the troops out, leaving Hamas intact. It calls for Hamas to return any of the living hostages that they have. And it's a permanent ceasefire. So it's going nowhere. Blinken even said it wasn't going anywhere. Qatar says it's dead. It's a dead deal. It's, but they're trying to tout it. They're not happening. Hamas doesn't want it. Neither does Israel. Who wants it? Biden. The nations want it. Biden wants it. That's it. So we're operating inside Rafah right now. And we came in with 2 battalion strength, and Blinken has convinced Netanyahu, or forced them, to reduce the amount of troops and take Rafah out softly so as to not kill civilians. I understand now we're up to 1 million civilians moved out of Gaza, which is a huge amount. The max they had was 1.5 million, and they probably really had 1.2 million. The soldiers are saying they're finding guns and weapons in every house. So these Gazans are not friendly or peaceful. They're part of the problem. They're a big part of the problem. Okay? The Israeli public doesn't really know what Netanyahu intends to do for a military plan, but what most people don't know, because it's not in the media, is when Israel moved out of Gaza, which I believe was 2006, our soldiers came and forcibly evicted people living in their homes in Gaza, Jewish Israelis. They cried. Netanyahu was heavily involved in this piece of garbage. The Americans pushed it. And the Americans made security guarantees to Israel that they would make sure that nothing would happen to Israel negatively as a result of returning Gaza back to the Palestinians. America put it in writing. Did they fulfill it? No. Did America fire one bullet at Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad for what they did to us and are doing to us? No. Did Biden deliver us weapons? Yes. Did Biden recently decide to hold back 3,500 bombs that he was supposed to give us? That many members of Congress are mad about because he broke his word? Yeah, he did it. Does that sound like a security guarantee? No. So this new peace deal for leaving Hamas in Gaza has United States security guarantees, which is worthless. I don't think Israel takes it seriously. What Saudi Arabia gets out of this is security guarantees from America, which is worthless. And they also said they would give Israel security guarantees against Iran, which is worthless. What are they going to do? Park 3 aircraft carriers here? Come on, it's worthless. The pier that the Americans put in is militarized now. It has heavy weapons. And that's just part of the siege, and Netanyahu agreed to it very softly. Piece of garbage. So, there does not appear to be a ceasefire coming. Netanyahu did listen to Biden and moved 1 million civilians out of there. And he's trying to keep the civilian death count down. They're saying that 10 civilians a day or less are getting killed. But they don't talk about how many Israeli soldiers are dying for this idiot way of conducting a war. Meanwhile, Lebanon keeps attacking us every day, and there were security guarantees made to Israel from the United Nations. We withdrew from their borders. We set up a 25-mile buffer zone in the 2006 war with Lebanon, and we withdrew from it for security guarantees. And they put the UNFIL soldiers in there, which are still there to this day. And they have not fired one bullet at Hezbollah. And they have not done a single thing to protect the security of Israel. So any and all security guarantees from any of these countries is a complete farce. And Biden won't do a thing about Lebanon attacking us. He doesn't care. He doesn't seem to worry about what we do to them either. I think he feels that the Lebanon problem belongs to France, not America. And France, the leader, Macron, is the biggest do-nothing nincompoop you could find. So, I don't know what Iran's going to do now in terms of retaliating over the helicopter downing, because they got a lot of weakness in their country for civil war. And there's going to be more assassinations inside Iran from the resistance. Some of the assassinations will be high-ranking, some won't be. But it's in their best interest to keep the assassinations going a few times a week. It will drive the Iranians into a frenzy. And that's when mistakes are made. I don't expect Israel to get the land of Gaza back or Hamas out of there until the two witnesses do it or Jehovah does it. It's not going to happen. We will get the land back, Lebanon too, and Syria and Jordan, but not through the army of Israel or America or any of these other countries. It's only going to come from God. That's his redemption, giving the land to us that our fathers had. That's where this is going to go, not coming from the works of man with their armies. So Israel doesn't talk about the assassination of the president. A lot of people in America and other countries were mourning his death like he was some holy guy. He was a butcher, a human butcher. I think their day of mourning was over yesterday, or it's over today. There's 3 days it's finished, or will be today. The more and more I look at this, the more and more I think they're not going to do a big missile attack against Israel. Their nuclear sites are exposed, because Israel blew up the radar on 7 locations, 5 nuclear facilities, or 6, and they're undefended. No radar, no ground-to-air defenses. So I mean, they'll have defenses, but they're immature, mobile and stuff, not big ground-based radar. And so Israel can just take out the nuclear facilities, which would stir the revolution up in Iran greatly. And they know that. Whoever's trying to get a revolution going in Iran is going to try to rally the people up to be bold and brave and see the Iranian government is weak and disjointed. And they're doing it, I think. The Iranian currency's in the toilet. Got much worse. Putin's position to the Ayatollah in a nutshell is going to be, you lost your president, what do? You get another president. You call the shots anyway, what's the difference? So we need to watch Iran closely to see how and if a civil war will emerge. It'll start with more and more attacks on the Iranian government, military, police, government offices, whatever. And that they'll pick off low-hanging fruit, and that will enable them to successfully recruit more people. When people see that it's being successful or looks successful, they will join the movement. So if they pick up 1 million people or 2 million people or something like that, it's over for them. Who's going to come help them? China? Forget it. Russia? Forget it. Belarus? No. Nobody. Could America lash out? Could Iran lash out in great anger if a revolutionary movement grows in their country? Yeah. So what? To do it anyway. Russia's still fighting in Ukraine heavily. Ukraine is fighting back. It goes up and down. Ukraine gets victories, Russia gets victories. It goes like a stalemate. So what things are going to start to boil down to is, what the heck are we going to do with Hamas in Gaza? We could round them up, put them in prison camps, but what do we do with them? I don't know. I think Netanyahu is going to try to find a way to get him out of Gaza. Deport them or something. I don't know. There's no way Israel's going to leave Hamas intact in Gaza. So many people in Israel know what a joke that is and how it's going to come back to us. So that's not going to happen. Jews moving to Gaza is another story. The military has to protect them. There's a lot of manpower, a lot of money. What are they going to do in Gaza? You know, they don't see it that way. That might not happen. I think that Biden should move the White House to Gaza. He likes him so much. What else? I think that's about it for the war right now. Let me take a look at the chat and then we'll get on to the Bible. Let me go through the chat, unless it's not working right, which it has a habit of doing from time to time. There's a lot of posts in the chat and a few people, that's so odd. Okay. Please don't put cryptic stuff up in the chat. Nobody knows what it is. Please don't dominate the chat with cryptic stuff, okay? It's just nobody knows what this stuff means, and it's just disruptive. Okay. Quite a low turnout today. I don't know why. But most people don't watch it on live stream anyway. Okay, let's get into it. Get my notes. This stuff's probably not going to make a lot of sense to you until the very end. Then I bring it together for you. Okay? Isaiah 40, 28 to 31. Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, Jehovah the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary, there is no searching of his understanding. Verse 29 of Isaiah 40. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon Jehovah shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. This is what the English versions call eternal life, which means very, very long, lasting life with perfect health, and your body works just fine. Okay? You're not decaying from old age, things like that. All right, and that we find in Malachi 4. They shall jump out of the stall like baby calves, and this is what we see. Okay, but we see the wings of the eagle. In Scripture, and that's what we want to focus on. So, is the wings of the eagle what the Bible not most correctly calls eternal life? Because you could still die. How do you fit that in? And that's what we're going to work on today. So, now we'll go to Exodus 19:4. Now, Israel did not have a double reward back then. Things were different. Thou shalt not bow down. Whoops, wrong verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And I think I got the wrong verse, so let me get back in here. It's 19:4, why am I in 20? Okay, 19:4. Of course, it spun on me. Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. He bare them on the eagle's wings. Bear them on eagle's wings, like a mother eagle protecting a young or something. So A mother eagle has a nest up in a rock face high where, the only animals that are going to possibly be able to get around them are those billy goats that can climb these mountains very adeptly, and they're not going to come in and mess with the baby eagles. They don't eat meat. They're not going to take a chance. They're not going to bother with it. They like to climb around on the mountains because predators can't do anything to them except eagles. And they'll find a little ledge on, maybe they're 900, 1,000 feet above ground, or 1,800 feet even, or something. And they'll climb up these mountains and they'll find a little ledge and they'll sit down on the ledge. An eagle normally won't go after a full-grown goat. He can't really swoop down and grab them when they're on the ledge, because the ledges are usually quite narrow, and how's he going to do it? If he comes at them, from one direction, he's going to bang into the wall, the back of the ledge, and crash and hurt himself, could break a wing or whatever, right? So he can't just swoop down. It won't work. He can try to go the long way and swoop down, but that won't work either, because this guy got a wingspan maybe of 6, 10, 12 feet. He can't do that. He'll bang his wing. So what they do, I saw a video of this, they land on the ledge near the goat, usually a young goat who doesn't understand what's happening. And the eagle tries to just sit there like everything's okay. He's just resting. And the goat's not a predator, so he doesn't have the imagination. If he did, or he was an adult with horns, he might charge the eagle and bang into it with his horns and break the bones of the eagle and kill him off the mountain. Eagles are not a ferocious fighter on the ground. There's videos of mother hens attacking smaller eagles and hawks and stuff like that come into their farm area where they live, and they're outside during the day and tries to pick up the babies. The mother chicken charges and attacks these hawks and eagles and falcons and drives them away and fights with them, and the roosters attack them too. And the roosters peck them and try to rip them open with their legs, with their claws. The birds can't hold up against that. They're at a disadvantage. Their idea is to swoop down and pick up a rat, a mouse, a squirrel, a rabbit, take it up in the air and drop it on a rock or something and kill it, and then go down and eat it. That's their modus operandi. But they can't do that in the hen yard because it usually has a wire fence that's pretty high. There's buildings, so the bird can't get this thing going with the swoop, So the bird has to land. Once the bird lands, he's markedly disadvantaged. So he tries to fight against the prey, but mama chicken goes after him voraciously, squawking. The other roosters will come, maybe the other hens will come, and if the predatory bird doesn't get out of there, they'll kill it. I don't think they'll eat it, they'll just kill it and leave it there. So predatory animals have to make their attacks in such a way that they don't get injured, let alone killed. Injuries in the wild are very, very dangerous. Lions and jaguars and leopards, they get hurt from like wildebeest or zebras. They get kicked in the head or the ribs or something. They can't hunt. They can't defend against the other members of the flock. Now, if an elephant gets hurt, the other and it looks like it's a recovery type of a hurt, It's not old age death. It's, they got hurt somehow. Maybe a predatory animal gouged them or something like that, but they're pretty sure it will recover. They'll protect them and, stay with them as long as they need to till the guy or the gal recovers. But predatory beasts are not, they don't run that way. When an animal gets severely injured, they abandon it. It's finished. So a lion gets kicked in the jaw by a zebra and it's broken and it can't chew meat, it can't kill. The lion basically just goes and lays down and dies. And it knows it's going to die. So they are normally very careful about what they attack and how they attack. And if they can't safely kill the prey, they won't do it. But some lions get overzealous, and every now and then they hit the wrong zebra. And the kick from a zebra could be fatal to most any predatory animal, Now lions are, they go after anything. They go after 13-foot crocodiles. And a crocodile's got a mouth that's probably 24, 30 inches long and 10 inches wide, full of teeth. And the lions seem to know that the mouth is very dangerous, and they try not to engage the alligator in the water. They'll take it on the water's edge. If the water's this deep, the lion doesn't care. He's got pretty good footing. And if the alligator comes over and doesn't grab him, the lion will drop his head down like lightning and bite into the alligator, a male lion, and flip it out of the water, and then it's curtains. Then the other lions come over and they start ripping it off. It doesn't do well. It's hard for them to kill it because it's armored. They got to get it on its back, and these big gators weigh many hundreds of pounds. And the gator usually just scares him and hisses and opens his mouth and then tries to get himself back in the water. Crocs and alligators kill at the water or the water's edge, where they could drag the prey into the water and drown it by rolling it around and disorienting it. They don't normally go hunting 100 feet from the edge of the water, or even 50 feet, and probably don't really want to go more than 10 or 12 feet maximum. They really like to get prey when they're right at the water's edge, so they could schlep them into the water and kill them. So the lions are nuts. They'll try to kill hippos, rhinos, elephants. It doesn't do much good. They can't kill them. So anyway, let's get back into the study. So when they got out of Egypt in Exodus 19:4, you have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Now, he didn't say they will rise up like they had wings of an eagle. He said, I took you on eagle's wings. So this is a different thing. And they were not getting a double portion over them. Now, we're talking about the eagle's wings concept as coming after they look upon Yeshua appearing in the clouds. And we find that in Zechariah 12:10, and we combine it with John 3:4. Those that are believers that look upon him or see him shall have everlasting life, which is not immortality. It's a long, long life, something kind of like before the flood, but better, because you don't get destroyed. You don't rot away with old age. Okay? Psalm 103, 2-5. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all things, all thine iniquities, your lawlessness, who healeth all thy diseases. You see, this is what happens in Hosea 6:1 and 2 when it's over. We get healed of all our diseases. Now, the word for diseases is 8463, and it's takla. Let's see how Strong's throws it into English. A malady. Okay? So it's not just a disease, it's a malady. You got a limp, your old age, your ears are shot, your knees are shot, this kind of thing. Who redeemeth my life, think year of redemption, and destruction from the who redeemeth thy life from destruction. The destruction is again shachat, which is the pit or the grave. But it's also corruption. It probably means you're going to rot away from old age or a disease or illness, or a wound or an injury maybe. From destruction, who crowneth thee with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. Your youth with good things, that thy youth. So let's check the word for youth. 5271. Na'er. Youth, early life. Okay. So that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. Now, it also has an implication, meaning like, a juvenile, a teenager or something like that. Going based on something I saw in a vision he showed me, I'm thinking that I would say around age 23 when we see him, but I could be wrong, it could be 18. So then you could say with a youth, a child dies at 100, so that doesn't mean that your baby's walking around with diapers on for 59 years. And then it's toilet trained, and it doesn't click. So what I think it means is, because we're going to reproduce with many, many children, as you'll see in the scriptures coming up. So if you had kids running around in diapers for even 25, 30 years or so, it would be overwhelmingly rough. I don't think a child dying at 100 is probably that you're going to be 100 years old and you're going to look like somebody 18, 19, 17. That's what I think the meaning of that is. And that's because you're all judged for your own sins individually, and I told you everlasting life does not mean immortality. Because we have the everlasting life before New Jerusalem comes, and what would be the purpose of having the tree of life and the water of life if that was giving you immortality and you couldn't die? And it says in New Jerusalem there shall be no more death. So that happens in New Jerusalem. But just to those, because inside, because it says the leaves of the trees that are growing by the sides of the river of life, the water of life, are for the heathen for healing. So they'll be using the leaves to heal their diseases and sicknesses and injuries and so forth, like we use herbs today. Only these herbs are really going to work because they're leaves that the water of life is feeding the tree of life with. So it's not like what you have today where you go to the health food store and you buy a bunch of herbs and you find out they rarely work. The large drug companies bought the herb companies back in the 90s and early 2000s. I took herbs, I remember in the late 90s, somebody was teaching me about it and I started taking them. And I would get a cold and I would take 4 or 5 herbs, maybe 2 or 3 times, and generally I'd start in the morning when I woke up and saw I had a sniffle or a cold, and then by mid-afternoon it'd be gone and all dried up. Happened several times, but in more recent times it doesn't happen. I don't think the herbs are the quality they used to be. Additionally, it's hard to make things work when you put them in your stomach through your bloodstream. No, I'm not a doctor or a healthcare professional. I'm just giving you my anecdotal stories and my experiences. I find it hard to get the stuff to work well when you go through the stomach. Anyway. Who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. Now again, he's doing a comparison to the eagles, and the word for renewed, Chadash, which means new. The new moon's called the Chadash. Interesting. But it tells us, so your youth is renewed. So you get, what's a renewal? Your driver's license expires, you renew it, you get it all over again. So you're going to go back to being like you were as a youth. Now, we need to look at the word youth. Youth is nair. It means early life. Yeled is a child. So it's not saying a yeled. It's saying early life. Young people, so I think 18, 19 is a little early, maybe 21, 23. So when this happens, which is going to be, he appears in the clouds, and you have a broken something and they put a titanium joint in, are you still going to have that? No. You have pins in your arm? No. Some people lost a leg, they lost an arm, eyes are blind, ears are deaf, tongues don't work. No, they'll get fixed. You're bald? No, you'll get fixed. Somebody would say, well, when I was 19 years old, I had a limp. Well, you won't when this happens. I was born one leg longer than the other. That'll get fixed. Well, I had my appendix and my gallbladder and my this and that removed. Well, you have them back. Uh-huh. Well, I was in Vietnam, I got my leg blown off. Well, you'll get a new leg. Okay? You're not going to go through life busted up. Not when this happens. Psalm 103:6. Jehovah executeth righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. He made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel. Jehovah is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy. Revelation 12. Now we'll go through this carefully and I'll break it down. But we see the wings of an eagle here. So let's go through it. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. Now, God never said, when you see this vision, know the end is near. People have written books about this and sold them to people that they watch star charts to see when this is going to happen again. It's never going to happen again. It was a one-off thing done for John. It's never going to be repeated. It never says that we should watch for it or it's going to show again. That's nuts. That's just people who are trying to sell books. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And now the birth pangs mean you're pained to be delivered. And we're in that phase of birth pangs and the beginning of the actual birth, maybe that, not yet, and we want to be delivered already. We want to have this eternal life, but not yet. We gotta wait. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. Okay. And his tail, this is Satan, drew the third, not the beast, this is Satan, drew the third part of the stars of heaven. And did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child. This was Yeshua getting born, with Herod wanting to kill the male children. They had to go to Egypt to keep them safe. And she brought forth a man-child, that's Yeshua, who was to rule all nations, that's heathen nations, with hang on a second. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations, and that's the word for that is goyim, the heathens, with a rod of iron. Now, many falsely teach that they're going to go up to heaven for the wedding feast of the Lamb, come back down to Jerusalem and reign over the Jews with a rod of iron. There is no such scripture, plain and simple. They take this scripture and trust people don't know it, and they twist it. But there is no such scripture. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. That's Yeshua in heaven, where he is now. And the woman fled into the wilderness. Now, the word for the wilderness is eremos, a waste place, desert, and so forth, where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Well, that's the 1260 days, okay? And that's where should be fed. And that's kind of curious because that's the children of Israel went into the land of Israel before it was Israel. Canaan it was called, you know. And the 1260 days is a spiritual thing. I'm not quite sure how we interpret that. And there was, but it's been a long time. And there was war. Well, the real interpretation, actually, I can tell you, it's the time of times and half a time. It's not 1260, and it's not 42 months. It's captivity. The first captivity was Egypt. The second was Babylon. The third was Rome. And the fourth is the half captivity and the great day of the Lord. And you could read that in Zechariah 14, I think, verse 2 or 3. Half of Jerusalem goes into captivity and the rest just stay there. And that's the end of all the bad things that happened to Israel. That's Ezekiel 38, 39, God and the God. Really very closely timed with the tribulation as well. And then we go to verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels. So Michael had angels that followed him, which are the angels that follow God. And Satan had a bunch of dumbbell angels following him. And they got thrown out of heaven. Third. And prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven. So they were out of heaven for good. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. That's how he works, deceit. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. They wanted to be with him so much they could be thrown out of heaven down to earth with him, you know. And I heard a loud a loud voice saying in heaven, now comes salvation, and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ, of his anointed. It's the word Christ. Comes from the Greek Christos, which comes from the Hebrew Mashiach, which means anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down. He no longer can appear before God day and night and accuse people like he did with Job. Of our brethren is cast down, which accuse them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. So the heavens rejoicing at the kicking out of Satan and the bad angels. But the other side of that is, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, that be us, and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And he's displaying his great wrath. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, so he probably just kind of woke up sort of down here and said, what the heck? And he realized that he was cast unto the earth. He persecuted the woman, that's Israel, which brought forth the man child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, times, and a half a time from the face of the serpent. Oh, what a scripture. This is a hard one. It's loaded with lots of things. Fly with the wings of the eagle, not God taking them out on his wings like an eagle. They're flying. You got to get that. It says it, and we're going to develop it into her place, into the wilderness. Now, Israel's called the wilderness Zion because it means a parched place. And Israel's going to be that way until the end of Gog and Magog. Then we get the new heaven and the new earth. Now, it also says when we get attacked in the Gog and Magog, it's going to look like the Garden of Eden. But then it's not going to look like the Garden of Eden. It's going to look like a burnt, parched place again. Probably looked very good for many years, but he's saying the wilderness, that's this land of Israel, as compared to New Jerusalem, as compared to the third heaven where Jehovah lives, with Yeshua. Now, Yeshua said, no, you'll come to New Jerusalem. But we're not there yet. Okay. So she is nourished, provided for until the last of the captivities, and then all the bad stuff that ever happens to Israel is over. Yeshua comes down. We have that sign, which the sun goes dark, the moon goes dark, the stars don't give their light, they fall like figs from the sky. And then he comes down with all on a white horse with all the angels of heaven. And New Jerusalem comes down and we go into the millennium. So basically what happens when the time of times and half the time is over is we're pretty much going to go into the millennium. And New Jerusalem doesn't look like a wilderness. And it's got gold that you could see through. That's so plentiful, they make the streets out of it instead of tar or concrete. Now, I've never seen gold you can see through. I've seen glass you can see through, plastic, but never gold. So I don't know what it looks like. I don't think any of us do, but we're going to find out pretty soon. Not that soon, but, like rough cuts, 70 years. We got a prayer request for NE Normandy Echo, NE Normandy Echo, and a prayer request for NRE Norman Ralph Echo, or Norman Robert Echo, and CE Charlie Echo, CE Charlie Echo. This is a sad thing, and those of you that are animal lovers are going to know what I'm talking about. They just lost a cat that they had for many years, and some of you know that we grow very close and attached to cats and dogs and birds and other pets. But the cats and the dogs really give back a lot. And when you lose them, it's like losing a family member. Not quite, but it's pretty painful. I remember losing a dog, 17 years old dog. It was just so hard. It was horrible. So please pray for them that their grief be lifted and they have peace and joy again. Okay, you have the initials, so please pray that their grief be lifted and they have peace and joy again. We have to remember when we pray for pets, they don't live forever. Okay, God didn't intend dogs and cats to go 100 years. Weird as African gray birds can go 40, 50 years. It's very odd. Elephants can go 100. It's weird. Dogs can frequently hit 15, 16, 17, 18. But frequently their quality of life in the last 4 or 5 years isn't so high. You know? I've gone through it. It's really painful. So they have my sympathy, and please pray for them to have this cloud lifted off of them and to have peace and joy again. It's very difficult. Okay. And the woman, I want to be, hold on. I want to be in 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of the great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and half a time. Well, that's referencing Israel. And the land of Israel. And those days are over when we go to New Jerusalem, which will be the return of Yeshua. Then we get married. New Jerusalem's called the bride because we marry. We're married to the land. Well, that's our land, so to speak. So we're married to New Jerusalem. And we don't know what it's going to be like over there. Yeshua and the glory of God of Israel seated there in thrones. I mean, there's no night there. They provide the light. I mean, you know, you could sit and think about this all day. I don't think we could grab it. We have no frame of reference. Where she, for a time, times in half from the face of the serpent. So the serpent can't get to her in this time. And then when half a time is over, when that's finished, we'll be in New Jerusalem, and Satan will have the privilege of spending the millennium in the pit. So Satan has a progression like we, the believers, do. He started out in heaven, then the earth, then the pit, and then the lake of fire. Where we start out in the earth, okay, and then we go into this next age with eternal life, which is not immortality. And then from there we go into New Jerusalem, which does have immortality. And then from there we go to the third heaven. So we go up, Aliyah, we go up, and Satan and his children and the bad angels go down, progressively worse and worse. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Well, this is likely going to be the siege, and the various historical sieges on Israel could be like this, but when they surround us and they lay siege to us, this could be it. Or it could be the Gog and Magog attack. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which is people, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. I think this is referencing Gog and Magog, not Zechariah 12. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yeshua. Well, those are the true believers. That's who he goes after. And I don't want to put it into a time frame because it's always the case with Satan. If you're going to follow some religion that says they follow the Bible and don't follow the Bible most overtly and obviously, and you should put up with it, well, Satan's not wasting his time on you. He already has you. Now remember I told you be like your youth, okay? Let's just generally discuss born again. We know we have to be born again, and we are born again. What does that mean? Well, when you're born, are you in your youth, young and vibrant and everything? Yes. Born again. What does that mean? We go back to our youth. But we've been born again for many years since Yeshua came, about 2,000 years ago, and we're not getting that yet. Correct. Because you ran into the 2,000-year punishment on Israel found in Hosea 6:1 and 2. That time is coming to an end very shortly. So while Yeshua rid us of our sins, the manifestation of that is not going to happen until this 2,000-year period is up. Because during that, he turned us over to our enemies. So when that's up, then the paying for the sins and being the peace offering, the lamb, kicks in. And thus we have the next temple, and we don't have any sin, and then we don't have the ailments of sin. Sickness and things like this are a result of sin. The old age is a result of sin, I believe. But if you didn't have the sin, you wouldn't have the old age and the diseases and all the injuries and malfunctions of the body and so on. And when does God say he's going to take our sins away? Well, you know, Zechariah 12 and 13, basically. It happens then, very soon. Days, weeks. So the born again, the travail, the birthing again, when that happens is when we see Yeshua in the clouds, when the sun goes dark and the moon turns to blood, and we see him, and then we're changed, because when you see him, you shall be like him. And how did he go up to heaven when he left a long time ago? On a cloud. Was he able to walk through walls? Yeah. Was he able to change his appearance and then change it back so people wouldn't recognize him than they did? Yeah. Are we going to be able to do that? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to be able to walk through walls and change our appearance. I don't think so. Isaiah 30, verse 18. Oh, first let's do 1 John. No, let's do Isaiah 30, verse 18. Let's see how many people are in the chat now. Chat went away. Not getting many people in here. goes in here. Yeah, very few people today. I wonder what Satan did. Let's do some spiritual warfare about that. All right, let's go. Where was I again? Isaiah 30:18. Therefore will Jehovah wait that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will he be exalted that he may have mercy upon you. For Jehovah is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. Blessed are all they that wait for him. Those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. People don't know what kind of great riches are in store for us because it never happened before. But we're waiting on the Lord. And we're not going to be disappointed. And the waiting is not so easy. Let's go to Isaiah 60. And this is where we're going to get into some deep insights into the wings of the eagles. Arise, shine, for thy light is come. Now, the word for light is or. Aleph Vav Resh, or. And it's not really or, it's like, Strong's calls it illumination, and it's more like light is coming out from you, emitting light, or projecting it, or it's coming out. Something like what happened to Moses when he was with the glory of God of Israel on Mount Sinai. For thy light is come, for thy or is come. And the word for shine is really the same word, or. It's very similar. Arise, emanate forth light, for thy illumination or emanating forth light is come. And the glory of the Lord, that's Michael the angel, that's called the glory of the God of Israel, is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. So the people are in darkness, and the earth is in darkness. And Jehovah shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. That's the glory of God of Israel. And the Goyim shall come to thy light, and that's or again, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. The brightness, that's Strong's 5051, Nagah, seems to be translated reasonably decently. Light or brightness, or shining, emanating light. And kings to the brightness of thy rising. The word for rising is Sarak. Oops, let's go back here. Rising. it's not correctly translated. It's a rising of light. Okay? So we're going to be glowing and emanating forth light like Moses did when he was with God on Mount Sinai. They had to cover him with a veil. And that veil is used today like it's a veil over the eyes of Israel because they don't see that this is going to happen to them, and of course us, the believers. Okay? Lift up, and it's going to happen because they see Yeshua, the Messiah, who they reject. So the veil is on them. Okay? Lift up thine eyes round about and see all they gather themselves together. They come to thee, thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thy heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. It seems to mean the riches of the sea. The word for abundance is hamon. The wealth of the sea. It could be treasures in the sea. It could be the fish. Shall be converted unto thee. Converted is a curious word for fishing. Hafak. Overthrow, overturned. See, I think that could be referencing the treasures in the sea over the thousands of years. How many countries were transporting wealth and riches for various reasons, to pay armies, to buy countries or whatever, and the ship sank and the stuff's just sitting there, the precious stones, the gold, it's just sitting there. The silver, which could be corroded. Silver and salt water could corrode, but not gold. And the gems don't get affected. Shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the heathen, that could be the wealth and riches, another way of saying it. The forces, chayil, the strength. Could be the wealth, an army. I don't think it's an army. Armies are going unto thee. The forces of the goyim shall come unto thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee, and dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sheba, shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of Jehovah. All the flocks of Kedon shall be gathered together unto thee. The name of Nebiot shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. This is when you're in Malachi 3. Elijah is teaching the Levites how to make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord. They shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. That's the next temple. You see it? Okay. Isaiah 68. So we're talking about Malachi 3 events, which is like Zechariah 12 events. Jacob's trouble, which is Jeremiah 30. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Who was flying as a cloud? And it says here, let's get the words. Who would be me? Mise is who's this or something anyway, these, Allah, me Allah, who these, and then the next word is oaf, which means fly or flyer. It also means a chicken, so they call a chicken a flyer, which is confusing. But hodu is a turkey, no relation, and an oaf is a chicken. But the word in the scriptures in Hebrew is an oaf. It means fly, not chicken. You're not going to be like Chicken Little or, Kentucky Fried Chicken or something like that. So, who these oaf fly as a cloud? Well, it says, properly as an envelope or cloud. So who are these that fly? And this is not New Jerusalem. Fly as a cloud or like a cloud. And then and as the doves, that's the bird, the doves. So they're flying here not on eagle's wings, flying as doves. A dove is the most favored bird with the Lord. And we used to have doves on our balcony. But I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to go back and we'll deal with this, but think about it for a moment. I won't be long. How do I get out of this maze of dogs? Now, am I making a case for the literalization of us flying like doves to our windows? Yes. Yes, I am. If it didn't say doves and we were back to the eagles only, then I would start thinking it's probably not the case. And that's why the doves are there. We had doves. We rescued a dove as a baby. We called her, this is, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years ago. We called her Lovey Dovey. She stayed in our bedroom in a cage, and she was very happy, and then we took her out, and we put her in the bed with us, and she'd walk around and play with us, and, you know, stuff like that. Then she started flying. Then she got older after a few months, and she got scared of us, which is her instincts. So it was getting time to release her. We had to wait. She needed rescue, so we had to wait till she got stronger and bigger, and then we released her. But she never really left us. So she found a fella and got married, as dogs get married. And she built a nest on her balcony. And her and her husband were so happy. They were flying around the balcony, playing tag and having a good time. They're going to have a nest and have babies. They were really less birds than monogamous. And she laid 2 or 3 eggs, something like that. Maybe 4 at most. She didn't lose any eggs. No critters came up on the balcony. They couldn't get access. They didn't want any part of us. So she didn't lose them. And she hatched them. And the husband would stay across the road on a house nearby, maybe 60, 70, 50, 70 feet away on the roof. He'd sit there for hours watching to attack anybody that came near her or the nest. But he wouldn't, he was smart, he wouldn't do it right where the nest was, because then predators would wait for him to leave and they'd know where the nest was. So when they saw him across the street, they didn't know what the heck he was doing. You know, he didn't care if they came up to the roof of the house he was sitting on. There was nothing there that he cared about. Oh, come. All you cats, come. There's nothing for you to get. No cat could get him. He'd just fly off, you know. At night, I think he stayed there too, or maybe he came and stayed in the balcony with her. I don't know where they went at night, because I couldn't see him. I didn't know what happened. But she'd stay at night, babies. So the babies would get big and they'd leave the nest, and I think once a baby fell out of the nest. I can't remember what happened. She did 2 times she did this, and then we moved away and lost track of it. So I remember one time she was out there and she was exposed on the balcony, and it was really pouring. And she stayed in the nest and hunkered down to protect those eggs from the rain for hours. It was rough on her. And when we would come out on the balcony, she got scared and she'd fly away, because she figured, what's the point of me staying there? He could kill me and the eggs, so at least I get to live. But of course we never heard of eggs. And you know, so that's the kind of bird they are. And they have a very short life, because I think God's merciful to them at this time. During this age, things are so bad that he was merciful on them. And the age to come, they might have a very long life. I don't know. They're good to their children. They don't kill other animals. They eat plants and things like that, seeds or whatever. And they're monogamous. When they hook up, they stay together, and the father and the mother both rejoice over the young. So there's a lot to that. Who are these that fly as a cloud and as the doves through their windows? It's not the angels. The angels don't have windows down there living with us. It's not New Jerusalem. It's us. There's no other explanation for it. Now, we go to 1 John 3:2. Well, we'll do 3:1 and 2. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it kneweth him not. So they don't know us yet. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. This is the looking upon the Son of Man, the one whom they have pierced in Zechariah 12:10, after the Spirit's poured out on them. And then John 6:40 says, those that believe that see him shall have eternal life. The ones that see him that are not believers are not going to have eternal life. They'll probably get real scared, but they're not going to get eternal life. Except, I believe, Israel. The lost tribes and Judah and Levi, they will. And all the true believers. And they'll come to Israel. That's how I see it. So Yeshua went up on a cloud. And they said, what are you marveling at? And when he comes back, he'll come back as a cloud. So that's what I believe is relatively inescapable. I know it's shocking, but I still think it's inescapable because you have this with the wings of the dove to the windows. That's not like coming out of Egypt, bearing on his eagle's wings. It's when you see him, you shall be like him, and he went up on a cloud. So I know it's crazy to a lot of you, and I don't even think there's a lot of us in here. Something's wrong. It's such a small turnout today. I don't know what it is. We'll finish Isaiah 60 if you like. Verse 9. Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far. That's the second Exodus, which comes right after Zechariah 12. Their silver and their gold with them unto the name of Jehovah Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he has glorified thee. So they're coming with their gold and their silver. They're going to leave the countries like the Israelites left Egypt with wealth and riches. How are you going to fly with your gold and silver as a cloud? You're not going to be able. You're going to have baggage. That's why you're coming on the ships of Tarshish. It says you'll also come out with your animals. So you may come with your birds and your cats and your dogs and I don't know what else, cows, I have no idea. Camels, I don't know. I'm just saying it says animals. And because he hath glorified thee. Glorified thee is pa'ar. Glorified, beautified. Okay? You're going to be shining, glowing, illuminated. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls. You're not going to have to work anymore. You're going to have these people doing the work for you. It says they're going to build up the walls. They're going to be doing the construction work. They're going to be doing the sowing and harvesting and planting and all of that. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. The offerings are acceptable unto the Lord, my favor. They've kicked us around and trodden us down so many hundreds and thousands of years, now it reverses. And they will know his name is Jehovah. Right? Okay. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day and night, that men may bring unto thee the forces, the wealth of the heathen, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Those nations shall be utterly wasted. There it is. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, so it's not completely destroyed. The fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. So there's going to be decorations around the temple. There'll be a wall around the next temple, and perhaps even inside or near the entrances and around there and so forth. The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of Jehovah, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the heathen, and shall suck the breasts of kings. This is not literal. And thou shalt know that that Jehovah am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Yaakov. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stone iron I will also make thy officers peace, and thy exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall be no more thy light by day. The sun's not going to be our light anymore by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. Now it's not saying that the sun and the moon are not going to be there or they're not going to be giving their light. It's saying very carefully, the sun shall be no more thy light. We're not going to use it for light during the day. Neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but Jehovah shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. So the glory of God of Israel when he is with the children of Israel, with Moses and Aaron, At night, he came up like a pillar by the temple and then spread out, kind of like a mushroom shape with the stem and then and he became a fire at night to keep him warm. And during the day, he'd come up like the stem of a mushroom and spread out like a cloud to keep the sun off them. So he's going to be giving us this light. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for Jehovah shall be thine everlasting light, and the day of mourning shall be ended. Okay, so you're not going to have, sunrises and sunsets and stuff while the sun and the moon may still go in and out. It's not going to affect us because we're going to have light all the time, which is rather obvious. I doubt we'll be having a need to sleep anymore. And it says, thy mourning shall be ended. That's the Zechariah 12 mourning after they see the one whom they have pierced. All the families of Israel mourned. That did not happen when they killed Yeshua. Thy people also shall be righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, Jehovah, will hasten it in his time. That means lots of reproduction, lots of children. When you're risen from the grave, then it's different. Then you're like the angels, and you don't reproduce, you don't get married and have children. Okay, then we go right into Isaiah 61, which sets the timing very nicely. Because remember, these chapter numbers and verse numbers are not in the original text. It's the publishing houses that put that in. The Spirit of Adonai Jehovah is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He had sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. That's the pit. That's the dry bones. And then the next verse, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. The acceptable year is normally like a Jubilee year, where every man gets his inheritance back, but I think here it's really representing the redemption year, because it's very similar to a Jubilee or Yovel year, because everybody gets their inheritance back. The inheritance being the land of Israel, the land that our fathers had. Okay, that's when it happens. Acceptable year of Jehovah and the day of vengeance. So again, he's associating the day of vengeance with the year of redemption, and it's also associated with the year of recompenses. So there's an overlap. It could be just the one day overlap, the last day and the first day respectively. Day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Jehovah. That he might be glorified in his children. And they shall build the old wastes, they shall raise up the former desolate, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolation of many generations. So this is the waste places that are all over Israel that have been that way for hundreds and hundreds of years. And strangers shall stand. So, but with all this new energy we have, it'll probably be rather easy to get the building going, and we'll have a lot of foreign strangers as servants/slaves to do work too. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the aliens shall be your plowmen. and your vine dressers, but you shall be named the priests, and that word is the Kohanim of Jehovah, shall call you the ministers of our God. You shall eat the riches of the heathen, and in their glory, kabod. It says riches heathen, then it says kabod, boast yourselves. It doesn't say in their glory. It says glory, boast yourselves. It could really mean in their glory, I guess. For your shame you shall have double, that's the double portion, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double, that's the double portion we get because we had a double punishment 2,000 years. Comes the mercy, feels sorry for us, wants to now show us his love. They shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. Well, that's, you gotta have everlasting life. With it, or you're not gonna have everlasting joy. So you're gonna be very joyful. The word for joy is simcha. Gladness, joy. For I, Jehovah, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offerings. And I will direct their work for truth, in truth. And that should be emet. Yes, that means truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the heathen, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them. All that see them. Now let's check the word for see. S-E-E. It's Strong's number in Hebrew 7,200, and it's Ra'ah. Look, see, perceive. So all that see them, because you're going to be emanating illumination, brightness. And their seed shall be known among the heathen, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which Jehovah hath blessed. What's the visuals? I will greatly rejoice in Jehovah. My soul shall be joyful in my God, my Elohim. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. And the word for salvation here is Yeshua, the root of Yeshua's name, Yeshua. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. And it's tzedakah, it means righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh themselves with ornaments. Well, bridegrooms don't do that today, as we know it. And as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so Adonai Yehovah will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the heathen. We'll go to next chapter, 62. For Zion's sake, for Israel's sake, will I not hold my peace. And the word for peace is chasa. Be silent. He's not going to be silent. He will not hold his peace. And for Yerushalayim's sake, I will not rest until the righteousness thereof. The word for rest is shakat. Shaked. It's shaked. No, shaket. Be at peace, quiet, rest, until the righteousness thereof go forth. So he's not resting, he's working things in the world until he bring forth our righteousness in the correct, proper way, with all the little details that are necessary. Thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. The salvation thereof, and that word is not Yeshua, it's Yeshua, his name. And the Yeshua thereof as a lamp, a light unto the nations that burneth. You don't put the candle under the bed when no one can see it. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of Jehovah shall name. It's not Christian. It hasn't happened yet, I don't believe. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of Jehovah, and a royal diadem. That's that little rod, maybe 18 inches, 24 inches, that the kings hold. Hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem, the hand of thy God. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken, neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate. But thou shalt be called Hephzibah, and thy land Beulah. For Jehovah delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married to the believers here, not separated again. For as a young man marrieth a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee, the land. And as the bridegroom rejoiceth over the bride, so shall thy God rejoice over thee. In a way, we're like a bride or a wife to God, allegorically. And I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day or night. You that make mention of Jehovah, keep not silence. In other words, keep asking the Lord to bring this about. And give him no rest till he establish it, till he
I'm so sorry, I urgently need you to listen. They're worshiping a dead rabbi in Tiberias, which means I'm taking the bus in to pick up my computer, okay?
Oh, okay.
All the roads are closed, and the only way I'm going to get in is
They
by bus.
managed to pull that off because the rabbi kicked the bucket?
No, he's been dead for a while. This is Rabbi.
Oh, Rambam.
No, this is Meir or something like that. Anyway, they're
Yeah.
bussing him from Zimach. They're making him park there. They're bussing him from Zimach into Tiberias. They've got the roads blocked.
And they're praying for the dead, which
And they're
is
praying to the
prohibited.
rabbi.
They're praying for, crazy. Okay. Enjoy yourself.
I'm not going to, you know that.
I know.
Breakfast is on the stove.
Thank you. And give him no rest till he establish. You hear that? They have a massive thing going on in Tiberias. They're praying for a dead rabbi. They got a Rambam guy. That's a famous rabbi, probably 400 years ago or something. More, maybe 800. They got him buried over there. And they come from all over Israel, these ultra-Orthodox, and they pray for him. But they don't really pray. These people don't pray. They read out of a prayer book, canned prayers. Or they read the book of Psalms and call those prayers. They don't even pray. That's what the rabbis do to them. And give him no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Jehovah hath sworn by his right hand and by the arm of his strength, surely I will no more give thy corn to be meat for thine enemies, and the sons of the stranger shall not drink thy wine, for the which thou hast labored, but they that have gathered it shall eat it, that's us, and praise Jehovah, and they that have brought it together shall drink it in the courts of my holiness. That would be the courts of the temple, I guess. The courts of my Kodesh. Holiness. Holiest, the holy is Kodesh, 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 Kadosh, Kadeshim. Kadosh, Kadeshim. Kadeshim is plural of Kadosh. I get twisted up because I know a lot of Yiddish and it's similar sometimes, and I gotta be careful. Anyway, I try to get the pronunciation right. Go through the gates, prepare you the way. The people cast up the highway, gather out the stones, lift up a standard for the people. This is the second, the next great Exodus route, Behold, Jehovah hath proclaimed unto the end of the world, the end of the end of Haaretz, the end of the earth, the land of Israel. It could be the world. Let me read again. Behold, Jehovah hath proclaimed unto the end of the land. Say you to the daughter of Zion, behold, thy salvation cometh. Thy salvation, that word is Yasha, the root of Yeshua. Thy salvation cometh, behold, his reward, Yeshua's reward, is with him, and his work before him. So we'll get the reward when he appears in the clouds. That eternal life and a lot of other stuff. That's how I'm reading it. It could be Jehovah, but I think it's Yeshua. And it could be both. It's one or the other anyway. They're both. And they shall call them the holy people, the redeemed of Jehovah. That's your redemption. That's your clue. And thou shalt be called, sought out, a city not forsaken. Now we're considered a city that is forsaken. This is the worst turnout I've had in years. I don't know what's going on. First of all, it may not be working right. And second of all, let's see if we can fix that. Something could be up here with them going after me. I don't think today's message was a message that they wanted to get out. But we'll be okay. We'll pray that God gets this message sent out and that lots of people that should see it, and it goes through. I think what's wrong is the counter more than anything, because there was a bunch of new subscribers. I just checked. I think the counter's not working right. We'll find out, so pray about that. I hope you enjoyed this, and I think that because of the doves, it's inescapable that it's a literal. I don't see how their windows fly like doves to them. What else could it be? Are you going to have wings? No, I think you go up like a cloud or something. I don't know how he did it. I mean, how did he walk on water? I don't know. He did it. He'll probably do it. How it works, I know. It works. We got to enter the kingdom of God like a child. So you trust your father. Your father says, well, you can go walk on the water. Oh, okay, Dad. And you just start walking on the water. You don't go back and say, what are you talking about? How does that work? Explain the molecules to me. You don't do that as a child. Those who wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. And we've been waiting on the Lord for years and years and years and years. All right. I hope you got something out of this. Please pray for me and my wife, Rivka. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing. Pray for our finances. PayPal was down yesterday for maybe almost the whole day. But I think you were able to access from overseas, not from in Israel. But it's back. It was back up some hours ago. It was down for many hours in Israel. I don't know what happened. Combined with a few people coming into the live stream today, I'm wondering, and I've taken spiritual warfare action against that already. All right. So pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. Pray for us to get more details about end times coming up on us very soon. Redemption and recompenses and day of vengeance with a very good sense of timing. Okay? And I do hope you got something out of this. And you can go through my videos, just go to my YouTube channel and go to the live section. That's where they are, because they're mostly live streams. So I don't know, I'm about 2.5 hours. That's on the long side, but 2 hours seems to be about where I can get it. I don't think I could get it down too much less. So please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, so when the eggs start hitting the fan and I start doing emergency live streams during the day and night, you'll get noticed and you'll know what's going on. You'll get the news probably 12 hours before you will get it from the media in other countries. And here in Israel, we get lots of juicy social media from the surrounding countries and here. Okay, I'm out, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach.